Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the Fort Bend Chamber of Commerce's Education Division. We're delighted to have you here today and appreciate you taking time to hear our webinar today. I think you'll find it very interesting. Before I introduce our guest speaker, I want to just give a shout out to the Fort Bend Chamber of Commerce because it is the only 5-star accredited Chamber of Commerce in the greater Houston metropolitan region. And we worked very hard to earn that distinction, and we have to re-earn it every couple of years to make sure we're still doing a good job of serving our business community and the civic organizations in the county in which we live. My name is Jim Rice, and I've got the pleasure of serving as the chair of the Education Division. And again, we want to thank you for joining us for this really important discussion regarding the future of our children and the start of the school year next month. Before we begin, I do want to acknowledge our sponsors, without whose generous support we cannot host these meetings. And to begin with, I would like to give a shout out to Fast Signs of Rosenberg and Richmond, Mr. Sid Jaju. Sid, you want to raise your wave to everybody? Thank you very much, Sid. Also from Houston Community College, Dr. Madeline Barrio, obviously a very strong supporter of education K through 12 and college. Dr. Barrio, thank you. From Jamel and Smith Construction, Michelle, we appreciate their support of many years. From PBK Architects, Inc., we have partner Mr. Ian Powell. Ian, we appreciate your support. From Whitley Penn LLP, Chris Bro, former chairman of the Chamber of Commerce and a personal good friend of mine. Thank you very much, Chris. And we also have Rice and Garner Consultants. So now I'm going to introduce our speaker, Dr. Charles Dupre, who really needs no introduction, especially if your kids are going to school in Fort Bend ISD. But Dr. Dupre is beginning his 8th year as superintendent of Fort Bend ISD. Time flies when you're having fun, right, Dr. Dupre?
Right.
Fort Bend ISD is the 8th largest school district in the state of Texas and the largest school district in Fort Bend County, currently celebrating its 60th anniversary, and it's grown to serve 78,000 students at 81 campuses. It's also one of the most diverse school districts in the nation, as families speak more than 90 different languages and dialects. Under Dr. Dupre's leadership, Fort Bend ISD has developed a strong foundation for student success with a focus on educating the whole child, not just STAR accountability rewards. Fort Bend ISD was awarded the 2018 HEB Excellence in Education Award for large school districts, and in 2017, the same award for school boards. And just recently, Dr. Dupre was named the Region 4 Superintendent of the Year. He received his BBA with a major in accounting from Harding University in Searcy, Arkansas, and his master's degree in educational administration from the University of Houston, a doctorate in educational leadership at Lamar University in Beaumont. So please join me in welcoming Dr. Charles Dupre. Charles, we're delighted to have you here today. Cannot wait to hear about Fort Bend ISD reimagined and planning for this school year and talking about the current priorities that you have, as well as health and safety protocols that you'll put in place to keep teachers and students safe. So with that, please take it away.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Jim. If I were in the room with everybody, I would ask you to raise your hands in order to let me know if you have children in school in our district, if you're a business owner in our community, or what other type of interest you might have in Fort Bend ISD. Because my goal today is to really do a broad brush with just enough detail to let you know what's going on and what relates to you as a member of our community. So I'm going to get started because it's no secret that as a public school district, we're dealing with one of the most unique and certainly unprecedented challenges ever faced in public education. In Fort Bend, as Jim mentioned, with our nearly 79,000 students and 11,000 employees, we are the largest employer in Fort Bend County. And as you would imagine, we have every type of job in our district, everything from child nutrition, food service workers. We're running a major restaurant operation. We run a major technology operation, a transportation entity with all of our school buses, an accounting department, an HR department, and all of that to support our nearly 6,000 teachers and the 79,000 students that learn at our schools every single day. So if you think about all of that in the context of this pandemic and all of the fear, all of the anxiety, all of the politics, and the reality, put all of those pieces in that big puzzle box, dump it out on the table, and try to put it together in 20 minutes or so. It's not going to happen. That's why I'm back for the second time this summer to give another update on what we're doing in Fort Bend ISD. Because since I've spoken with you several weeks ago now, a whole lot has transpired from our local level as well as from the state level. First and foremost, the pandemic and the outbreak has increased dramatically in our community since I last visited with you. So as you would imagine, that is dramatically impacting our decision making as we decide what we're going to do go back to school. The thing that we keep in mind at the forefront of all of our planning is the well-being of everyone in our entire community. Certainly we care about the academic needs of our students, but safety, health, and emotional, social well-being of our students is always our top priority, as well as our staff. But we know that, again, being the largest employer in this county with 11,000 employees and all those kids coming into our buildings, all the staff coming into the buildings, what comes into the building could potentially go out of the building. So that's why we're taking very guarded approaches to opening schools with students and staff all in the building at the same time. And as you might expect, that's creating a great deal of concern in the community. You may have read recently that there are some parents who are forming organizations because they're not pleased with our decision to open 100% online. They would like to have their voice heard. They would like their students in the classroom. And there's nothing more we desire. Every member of our team, from the boardroom all the way down to our teaching staff, and certainly all our district level leaders, we want our kids back in the classroom. That's where we build the relationships. That's where we can have the greatest impact to help them be successful today and into the future. But right now, we don't feel it's safe to do that. So I want to talk a little bit about how we got here, how school is going to look, health and safety, and then I'll throw in a few other things of interest along the way. So let me get started really by digging into, I want you to understand Fort Bend ISD is planning like a major corporate entity. We have a whole section, a whole team of our staff that are certified project planners, project managers, and they have laid out our planning timelines, our planning horizons for all of this work. We have an officer who's responsible for change management. And you often don't hear about these strategies and these terms in public education. But Fort Bend realized several years ago that when we are moving this behemoth, this Titanic of an organization, you don't just get in a room and talk about things and make decisions and announce it. Things never go well when you do that. So we're incorporating best practices in many cases with leaders in change management and project management that have extensive experience in corporate and commercial entities. So I'm very proud of that part of our organization because it gives us the confidence and the assurance we need that we're doing things the right way and managing change properly. But right now, we're basically working on 3 different streams of work, if you will. The first one is the most timely and most significant because it has to do with the opening the first day of school. Everything we're focused on right now is getting those kids back in school on Monday, August 17th. That's a change because last week at the board meeting, the board took action to reschedule the first day from August 12th. We did that because we needed more time to prepare our teachers to use the online tools they're going to need to use. But that's one stream of work, is all resources focused on that first day of school. Second stream of work right now is looking beyond that, about 4 to 6 weeks down the road, when we are hoping to be able to start bringing students into our building face to face. Because when we do that, it's going to create a very new challenge in having to social distance and use all the health and safety protocols we have in place. I'll talk about that more in a minute. The third stream of work is we want to be very transparent about how we make decisions. We want our community to be able to know the metrics, the triggers, the data measures we're using to determine whether we need to be online, whether we need to be face-to-face, whether a classroom needs to close and all those kiddos need to quarantine at home for a while, or whether a whole school building needs to close for a period of time. We want our community and staff to understand how we're making those decisions. So that's a third stream of work in developing that flow chart, if you will, that matrix that'll help us make those decisions that we can publicly post for our community. In arriving at our decision today to open school 100% online for students, and I keep saying that online 100% of our students, I do want to qualify, we will have some of our most at-risk special education students learning in the classroom with their teachers, because those children have very unique and special needs, and we believe that we can socially distance them and prepare them and keep them safe along with the staff to have a very limited number of special needs students in our building to meet their needs. So we are going to have a few students in our building. But what we've done throughout the summer is we've taken multiple surveys of staff and of parents to get their feelings about how safe and healthy they feel about coming into the buildings for school. Each survey, we have consistently gotten numbers in the 50 to 60% range of parents who do not feel safe sending their children back into the building. Now that number improves, and we have a higher level of comfort when we share some of our plans for health and safety protocols. And I'm going to talk about those in detail in just a minute. Staff, however, also feels closer to 60 to 70% of our staff and our teaching staff do not feel comfortable coming back into the building. Well, as you can imagine, this comes to the heart of what do they call flattening the curve, flattening the curve and minimizing outbreak in our community. A typical elementary in Fort Bend ISD can have anywhere between 500 to even 800 or 900 students. A middle school would have about 1,000 to 1,200. A high school, usually around 2,000, with some as large as 2,800 to 3,000. So you think about even 50% of those students in any of those buildings with staff makes it virtually impossible to truly socially distance, keeping the 6 feet, the 8 feet, all the whatever you believe in, whatever you hear out there. It's very challenging to do that. Now we can put masks on people, we can clean and clean and clean, but in the end, if people are too close in confined areas, we know the risk is significantly increased. And with so many people feeling unsafe, we determined it was best to go ahead and remain online for a period of time. Now, we didn't make these decisions in isolation. We have had focus groups that included hundreds and hundreds of teachers, hundreds of parents, even students, and we've done surveys that over 18,000 members of our community participated in to get all this feedback. But we also have another little group of individuals that I'm very proud to work with. We have medical professionals from our community. We have folks who work at Memorial Hermann. We have folks who work at Methodist. We have folks who are from the county. And they're all healthcare professionals, specialists in their field, and everything from infection control to infectious diseases. We also have a child psychiatrist, psychologist, because we want to make sure we're looking at all aspects of this in partnership with people who live and breathe this work every single day. I should also mention we have members from Texas Children's that are on our committee. So it's very broadly represented, and though they bring a significant voice in helping develop our health and safety protocols, but also in giving us guidance in what it looks like to open schools. So we've worked in a very collaborative way, data-enriched way to make the decisions that we're making. Now, as I mentioned, we go back to school on the 17th. When we resume school, I want to first talk about our health and safety protocols, because I know that's most important to everyone. Then I'll talk a little bit about our instructional programs because I know parents care a great deal about that. In regard to managing health and safety in our buildings, the first thing we're doing is we're rolling out a major education plan. All of the physicians we're consulting with have consistently told us education is the most important thing we can do because it comes down to the fundamental things we hear about: washing your hands, covering your face, keeping your distance. And so we want to keep educating and educating. And so people should not be surprised by any of these elements, but we want everyone, our staff and students, to know how critical these pieces are as they come back to school. We're also going to hire in every single building one or more wellness monitors that can help us be able to track health and well-being in the building. So what this will look like is everyone who enters the building, I'll start with staff. We have a wellness app through our organization as part of our wellness program that all staff members will be asked to complete every day before they come to the building. They'll be asked to report any symptoms they may have, and when they do that, then they will be guided. If they report any of the symptoms, they will be asked to stay home that day and contact human resources and their healthcare professional before they come back to work. Parents will also be asked to monitor their children carefully, but before anyone comes into the building, if they actually show up, they will also they'll have a temperature check and temperature screening to make sure that they don't have a temperature before they come into the building. So all of those things will happen as we start the day. If anyone is identified as having a temperature, a student would be redirected toward a safe area to contain them while their parents are contacted to come in and visit them. Staff would be asked to return home for the day. Now, hand washing stations and hand sanitizer will be available all over the building, and all students will receive training and be monitored in hand washing throughout the day, not just when they use the restroom or eat, but throughout the day as they've touched doorknobs or touched various things throughout the building. They'll be always monitoring their behavior and washing their hands. All people in the building will be asked to wear face coverings. We're looking at masks that we will provide. Staff and students can provide their own masks as well. We're also looking at the face shields because that provides another degree of coverage to protect the eyes and other points of entry for the virus. So we're looking at various face coverings, but they will be required in all of our buildings at all times. I should also point out that all of these things apply to any visitor to the building as well. They will be screened, and if they are admitted, they'll have to follow all of these protocols. Our custodial service will expand probably exponentially because in a typical building, you get through the day and then the custodians come in and they do their cleaning and empty the trash and clean the floors and go along their way. We're going to be hiring significantly more staff members to come in and be cleaning the building all day throughout the day, especially in the high touch areas. We're not going to be using like water fountains, but there's still doorknobs and handrails and things like that that just need to be cleaned throughout the day. So we're going to have consistent cleaning all day long. Now, I want to make sure you understand the products we use are all safe, and they all also are certified to kill the COVID virus. So our buildings are already very sanitary, but we're going to be keeping that way once we have more students coming in and out of the building. Now, of course, one of the biggest fears that people have is what happens if a student or an adult in the building is diagnosed with the virus. Well, if that happens, we have systems in place for our staff. So for staff, what we do, if anyone is diagnosed, they immediately call HR. HR is working closely with the county to do tracing, contact tracing, so that we can find out anybody else in our organization that person might have had contact with. And what they are asked to do then is if you've been in contact with that person, you're asked to self-quarantine for 14 days. So we have employees at home for 14 days any time that they have been in contact with a diagnosed case in our building. We will do the same thing with with students. So when students come back, we will ask their parents to notify us immediately. Any staff member, any other students there will be a communication protocol for all tracing to be reported so that those individuals can also self-quarantine. Now, there's a difference between self-quarantining and self-isolating, because if you are diagnosed and you're a positive, confirmed positive, then you self-isolate. So of course, we have expectations that all staff will self-isolate if they have a confirmed case. And return to work and school is a little different when you self-isolate, because you've got to be temperature free and with no symptoms for a certain amount of time before you can return. If you've just been in contact with someone and you're self-quarantining, you can return to the workplace and to school after 14 days. Now, in each of those cases, again, based on the level of exposure, we might have to send all the students home or close down an area of a building for cleaning and sanitation for a day or two or more, depending on how large the area is. We could potentially have to close down a whole school if we have a number of confirmed cases in a school. So you can see there's a lot of dynamics around this and flexibility we're having to apply. But what I want you to understand is that we do have we've got very tightly written protocols that governs each step of the way, each decision point as these things come to bear. So that's our health and safety protocols. As we think about instruction, if you have a child in Fort Bend ISD, you know what last year looked like, the last 9 weeks of school. And most of our parents have expressed a high degree of concern and expectation that this fall look very different. So that's we have put many new tools in place. I'm very excited about the work we put together this summer, because it will look very different to parents, students, and staff. One of the things that happened in the spring is we basically had to stand up online learning overnight. And our guideline was just do your best, get by, do what you can, we're going to work through this. But for this fall, we have very clear expectations for all staff that they will adhere to, because it's critical that all students have the common learning experience. In the spring, teachers were doing different things based on their knowledge, based on their level of experience, and students were having different experiences based on the teachers they engaged with. So this fall, all of our teachers, beginning next week on the 6th, all teachers will have 7 days of training and preparation and planning time to get ready to greet their students on the 17th. That's significantly more time than they usually have, but they're going to be on contract working, getting ready for our students. We're also going to have training videos for all of our parents. So our parents are going to be able to go in and follow these training videos to learn about the tools that they use, everything from Microsoft Teams to Zoom to a system we have called Schoology, another system we have called ClassLink, all of these things that the students will be asked to use during the day. We want an opportunity for their parents to see how to use them as well, because parents are going to continue to be our partners in educating their children. Another significant difference that our community is going to see is school is going to be in real time this year. So you may have heard the terms that we've been using, synchronous and asynchronous. So when we speak of synchronous learning, what that means is a student is face-to-face online with their teacher, just like we are now. The teacher's giving a lecture, they're demonstrating, they're teaching the students in real time online. So that's called synchronous learning. When the student turns off the computer and the teacher is no longer in front of them, and the student goes to do other things, maybe a project on the computer, maybe a writing assignment, maybe a project to do, and they're doing that on their own time, that's asynchronous. So it's not working at the same time with your teacher live, it's doing your work on a more flexible schedule on your own. So students will learn in both ways. But here's the most important thing our parents need to understand. And as employers, many of you, I want to help you know what some of your parents will be dealing with. Students will have a schedule just like they do during the school day. So it's not going to be flexible time. Every student will have a schedule that says you will be with your teacher at this time of day. And for many of our students, for our youngest kiddos, those in pre-K through second grade, it'll be a total of about 2 to 2.5 hours a day that they will be directly online with their teacher learning. For older children in upper elementary, middle school, and high school, it increases over time, with high school students having about 4 hours of learning time directly online every day. So what that means is the students need to have access to technology. They need to have someone who can monitor to make sure they're doing it if they're of an age that they can't be responsible for themselves. And they need to be able, in a home with multiple children, it's likely they'll need to be multiple devices. So right now, all of our students, our parents are being asked to do an online enrollment for their children. And in that enrollment, they can indicate if they need a learning device, if they need a hotspot, because we're committed to helping each and every student get access to the internet. We have hotspots available from all the major providers based on where the student lives. They may need a certain internet, may need a certain carrier, cellular carrier, but to access the internet. But if that still doesn't work, then we're going to figure out a way to either help them get service to their home or how to get them into a building to learn. We're not going to let any student not learn. And that's important for you to know as parents and business owners as well, or if you work in business, that this fall, school is not optional. According to the Texas Education Agency and the state level, school is back to normal. They may be at home learning, but they're required to participate in the scheduled activities on a daily basis. They cannot do all of their work in a couple of days and over the weekend. All of the work, they have to engage with us every single day in school. So I want you to think about, if you supervise people in a business environment, what that's going to look like for the people you lead. Because the parents we're hearing from, many of them have concerns about how they're going to work their full-time job, whether it be from home or whether it be in the workplace, and still make sure their children are continuing to learn. Now, from our end, we're doing our best to train the parents, but we need your help to support the parents who may have children they're responsible for who cannot come to a school building. The things we're doing as a district to help, though, there are multiple things. First of all, we're building partnerships with any and all private or faith-based child care centers, daycare centers, Mother's Day out programs in our community. So in a typical preschool, they don't have school-age children during the day during the school year. But we know during the summer and during the pandemic, many of our child care centers and our pre-K centers have had school-age children up to age 12 all day because moms and dads are working, whether from home or in the workplace. We're talking to them and partnering with them because we know they will continue to host those children while we are learning online. And so we're working with them to train their staff and to keep them aware of the tools and equipment and technology and bandwidth they're going to need to help these children continue doing school while they're in the care of the child care. Because they will not be able to do it after mom or dad get off work or before they go to work. The kids need to be online with their teacher during the day. So we've already had 2 meetings with child care centers, and we're going to be having more because we want to get the training set up as soon as possible so that they can really help the children in their care be successful. In effect, they'll be acting as an extension of the parent, if you will, to make sure the child is doing their schooling. The other thing we are doing is our extended learning department is going to be opened for some child care before school and after school. But we're also opening throughout our district what we're calling learning centers. This is a new concept that actually came to me from one of our parents in our community who works on an international level, and she was a part of the team that did the back to the workplace effort for her international organization. And she reached out with a suggestion and a plan on how we could use our buildings to serve working parents. And so what we're doing is opening learning centers throughout our district. Current parents can currently enroll for that as well as part of their enrollment plan. So what that's going to look like is parents will be able to bring their children to school, even when we're learning online, and the children will continue to learn digitally, virtually online from their teacher, but each child will have a station at their assigned school, which may not be their home campus, because it's not going to be at every school. but they will have a station where they're set up with everything they need to learn. They'll get snack breaks and restroom breaks and lunch breaks, movement time and brain breaks, just like you would at home. But they will do their school just as if they were sitting at their kitchen table, only they'll be in one of our buildings as a learning center so that we can support our families in that way. Now, because our county is on red alert related to the virus, we're going to have limited enrollment in the learning centers beginning on the first day of school. We're only going to have first responders, military, FBISD staff, healthcare workers. Very narrow group. So we have a lot of parents interested, but many may not be eligible initially. We are, however, over time, as we resume activity and begin taking more kids into the building, we'll open that up to more students as well. So those are some specific things we're doing to help you be successful as you reopen your businesses. But it truly is going to take partnership with all of us to help our families be successful. They're going to need lots of flexibility from their employers, lots of understanding. And I was on a call actually with Chevron not too long ago, because they wanted to know what we're doing, because they wanted to be able to respond to their employees' needs. So, I would encourage you to really take an attitude of responsiveness and care for your employees, because from the parents I'm talking to, there's a high degree of stress and anxiety about this. I think they realize we're kind of caught in they realize we can't open right now, but they also know the pressure that puts on them as parents who are being expected to perform a job for pay. And they're worried about how that's going to affect their family's livelihood. So anytime I can talk to a group of business leaders, I just want you to know we're your partner too, and we're all going to have to work together to support our children by helping their parents not be stressed and anxious about doing school. Last thing I wanted to touch on is really, there's a lot of activities in a school district, and people wonder, well, if you're not going to have school, what does that mean about sports and marching band and all those things we're so used to in Texas? Well, the UIL, that's the University Interscholastic League, they govern all the activities in Texas in regard to extracurricular activities. They have adjusted the schedule so that football practices are not allowed to begin until after Labor Day, and the first games would not be played until late September. So it's a very different schedule, but they did that because they know so many districts are modifying their schedules this year. And many, like Fort Bend, we're not having football practice or marching band practice while students are learning online full time. So over in the fall, we'll be able to resume those activities, assuming the virus mitigates and we are able to get back to gathering again. But if we cannot gather in classrooms for school, then we can't gather on the football field, in the locker rooms, or on the marching band field, or in the band hall. So all of this travels together based on what's happening in our community related to the virus. So I want to make sure that you know that that's something we take very seriously, because our students are counting on their athletics, they're counting on their band, that's their family at school, and those are important things that keep kids engaged. All the clubs, the ag sciences, all the things that our children do, it's important to them, and so we're supporting them in every way we can. Now, many of our CTE students will still be able to come to the labs on a very limited basis to be able to do their work. And of course, some of them do internships with you. So we're going to be working with you to determine what an internship can look like while students are learning online. There are some specialized programs, special education. I mentioned those students a little earlier. So one of the things I want our special ed parents to know is that we are working hard to meet the unique needs of each of those students. That applies to our gifted and talented students as well, and those who are learning English in our community. So many of you, especially special education and GT, are going to have direct conversations with principals and teachers about how your children's needs will be met, because we want to make sure we're really addressing the unique needs of each and every single one of our students. So I think, Jim, I've covered all the big rocks, but I'm happy to answer any questions, or if there's something I left out you'd like me to address, please let me know. And I think we're here till 1 o'clock.
Well, Dr. Dupre, thank you. That was very informative. We do have some questions, and I'm going to attempt to get through all of these with you. But if we run out of time, would it be possible for us to, you probably have some frequently asked questions already that may be posted on the Fort Bend ISD website. And
Absolutely. I think some of my team members from Fort Bend might be here. Veronica Sofer is our Chief Communications Officer. If she or Deanna Sayaveda, our deputy, could put something in the chat about that. We have an extensive list of questions and answers on our website.
okay, well, great. Well, we're going to try to get through as many of them as we can before time is up. But I just wanted to start out by thanking you for being with us again. I know this is your second time, but as you pointed out, the situation has changed dramatically since the last time we had this visit back in June. And I think, just to be clear, I heard you say that normally the students would have returned to school face-to-face, and we were kind of planning for that August the 12th. But then we had a spike in exposures to COVID-19. I heard you say we're in the red zone, which means it's uncontrollable. And the decision was made to push the start of school back to the 17th with all online instruction. So that it won't be the hybrid on the 17th. It will be all online. And then
that's correct.
We could come back maybe 6 weeks, but you'll reevaluate that. I'm sure we'll have plenty of advance notice of that. So let me start with some of the questions. We have a question from Mike Sullivan at Group 1 Automotive, who is curious, as a corporate sponsor of Fort Bend ISD's Auto Tech program, can you give me an idea what this coming year might look like in terms of hands-on training, hybrid, remote, and so forth?
Yes, so what we're doing in that regard, as I mentioned, our CTE students and some of those very specialty hands-on programs, they'll be online learning for the things they can learn online. But we will also be working with those teachers to be able to bring those students into the lab for the lab-based hands-on learning in small groups that are not congregating too many students at one time, so that they can continue their learning. We know many of the students in welding, in auto tech, cosmetology, they're counting on those hours and the skills to be able to get certified. And so we want to support that in every way possible. So even from the beginning of the year while we're online, they will be allowed to come to the labs in a safe and healthy environment, of course, to be able to do hands-on work with their instructors.
Okay. We have a follow-up question, I think, on the survey results, asking if you can post. You had mentioned earlier the surveys that you've done. I know we did extensive surveys in June, but since then, I think there are additional surveys been done. Can that be posted on the Fort Bend ISD website?
Yes, what I would, so that all the information is there. If someone would go to our website, they can look at, there's a whole section of the website dedicated to COVID-19 response. And we've done a number of live events, a number of written communications, a lot of videos and data. So anything you'd want to find is out there. And if not, you can always submit a question through our, what we call our Let's Talk portal on our website as well.
Okay, very well. Another question, you touched on quite a bit about keeping the buildings safe and clean and hiring additional staff and providing disinfecting and so forth. But one question is specifically regarding air filters. There's some special air filters that you might consider installing that block the virus?
Well, so we have actually upgraded, enhanced, and I'm not going to try to talk the technical talk, but we have substantially increased the quality of our air from MERV 3 to like MERV 8 or 9 or something like that, for those who know what I'm talking about, because I don't know what I'm talking about. But what they've told us is the new ones they actually filter about 97 to 98% of anything like the virus that would be in the air. So it dramatically improves the air quality. Of course, our medical advisors have also told us that by social distancing, only a certain number of students in a classroom. And so we're following the CDC guidance on that, with giving 41 student to 45 square feet in a room. So that means our class sizes when we return face-to-face will be much smaller. So that's contained, that's having fewer people in a space. The overall air circulation will be improved by using new filtration, and we believe we are creating a very safe place for our students and staff.
Okay, great. Turning to online instruction, can you speak to a couple of issues? One, I know that Fort Bend ISD handed out almost 7,000 laptops and close to 2,000 hotspots last spring. What about now that we're going to be online with the synchronous learning? How do we handle families that have more than one child in school with the devices if they need them? And then secondly, when we go back face to face, are they still going to need these laptops?
So you may have heard the term one-to-one technology plan in many public school districts. Fort Bend ISD does not do that. We provide them at school, but we do have thousands and thousands of devices. In terms of the pandemic, we're doing what we call a one-to-need program. So that means if families have multiple children, they will need multiple devices. And if they only have a tablet and a laptop or a desktop or only one device, they are indicating that need to us through the online enrollment verification that's ongoing right now. And based on that express need, the campus where that child attends will follow up with that family, and then they will be invited to pick up a learning packet that includes the laptop, the hotspot, if needed, anything the family needs to help the child engage online. And even Jim, you referenced an important thing. Later on this fall, once we get school started, we are going to come back and ask parents to make a choice between continuing online for the remainder of the year or sending their children face-to-face to the school. When that happens, all children will still need their own device. And so, yes, we will still be meeting the needs of students by distributing devices throughout the year, whether they're coming face-to-face or online.
Okay, well, thank you for that. And that answers a follow-up question that a parent had, and that was, will it be possible to choose whether a student will remain online even after we've returned face-to-face? And I think I heard you say the answer is yes to that.
That is correct, yes.
Okay. I'm going to go to, let's see, another question. Let's see here. I've got quite a few. One parent had a question requesting some clarification on the self-quarantine situation. So, for example, if a teacher were to test positive for COVID-19, would all of the teacher students then be required to self-quarantine for 14 days?
I would suggest, I can't answer that specifically. We do have protocols, but I'm going to tell you it seems reasonable that if a teacher has been in a room with 15 or 18 children, working with them regularly, I would say they probably have been in close contact. But all of these terms are very specifically identified: close contact, exposure, confirmed case. So all of that's in our protocols and would be applied accordingly based on each unique circumstance. There's no way really to make any broad generalizations on any aspect of this.
Okay, all right. Be on a case-by-case basis, getting advice from Dr. Minter with Fort Bend County, as well as the other medical professionals that you've indicated are in the advisory group. So you're getting good advice from medical professionals who live and work in Fort Bend County.
That's right. All of our protocols for students and staff, health and safety, contact tracing, all of that has been done in tandem with those who work and live in that field every day.
Okay. So some other questions. You mentioned that we've got to have synchronous learning, which means face-to-face instruction. The students have got to be engaged on a daily basis. If we're in elementary school, then we know we've got the same teacher for all classes throughout the day. As the students get into middle school and high school, a question from a parent is, are you going to post where the students need to be and how they're going to log in to the various classes when they normally they would change classes for a different teacher.
Yeah, so that's a really good question. And a couple of things, you triggered one thing I want to make sure our parents hear is number one, for elementary children and secondary children, they will have all of the regular schedule they would typically have in a school. So they will, in addition to the core classes, reading, English, math, science, social studies, they will also have PE, even if it's online, art, online, music, all of those things. All students will have all their regular classes they would have in a building. Now, and like you said, that's easy for the elementary, they have one teacher, but the same really will apply for secondary. Each student will be contacted by their campus about their schedule. So we are at the place last week, basically, I kind of referred to this as running a relay, where there's been a lot of planning at central administration and lots of communication from central administration. But now there's some very specific questions like a schedule. Like I saw a question a minute ago about what about Kickstart? Will we be doing that? There's lots of specific questions now that are going to be answered from the principal, the teachers, and the campus level. So the scheduling, all of those details, including what time the school day will start and end, all of that detail will come from the campuses to parents within the next couple of weeks before school begins.
Okay, all right. And then will a list of all the equipment, tools, the school list, will that be posted online? So if I'm a parent, I know what to procure and provide for my son or daughter?
Absolutely. I actually think that went live on Monday, the 27th. So I do think the school supply list is there. I will say it does not include hand sanitizer this year, because we're going to provide that by the gallon everywhere you go in a building. But there are some technical needs, and we've got, and actually for any family who needs to purchase, if they choose to purchase, instead of getting a district learning device, it also has the technical requirements needed for any device you would, if you choose to go buy a laptop or a tablet or something for your child to learn at home.
Okay, very well. Here's a question from a parent related to the synchronous learning, and they're stating their child normally has an aide and they're working. So will the synchronous learning be recorded for viewing at another time?
So we are not going to be recording the synchronous learning. There are several reasons for that, including what's called the FERPA. That's basically the Student Privacy Act. So if you have a Zoom meeting going on with multiple children on it, for us to record that, we would not be able to share it even if we did record it, because other parents cannot be given access to even view other people's children without the permission. So we're not going to be recording that. There's also copyright issues and other things related to the materials that are used. But if children have special needs, the teachers and the campus administrators will still be working to meet the needs of that student. The student, for example, may be invited during some of the non-synchronous time with their direct teacher into a special opportunity with their aide online synchronously to reinforce or help that child's learning continue. So there's many approaches we're taking to meet the unique needs of all of our learners. But again, all of that will be communicated from the teacher and the campus administration.
Okay, very well. Another question that we have is, what will workspaces look like for staff working in close proximity? You had mentioned earlier the automotive repair and things of this nature, and we got another question about special education. How will you handle that going forward?
So what we've done, again, we've actually consulted with an international organization and that has done exactly this work already. And they actually shared their playbook with us and showed us exactly how they took a room full of cubes and workspaces and basically blocked out every second and first and second one, and then you sit in the third one, then you sit in the sixth one. And they really talked about how they laid out their space and how they had flexible scheduling so that some people were coming in the office while others remained at home, and everybody was scheduled to use the available spaces that were properly sanitized and organized and properly distanced. So one of the things, we're taking a very light touch You know, because for example, as I've mentioned, I may have mentioned before, but I say it regularly, you know, parents want their kids in school. People want to get back to work, but we can't put kids in school if we don't have teachers to serve them. So we're trying to honor and respect our staff because they're essential to fulfilling our mission and delivering that instruction. Likewise, I can't run my accounting department if people don't feel safe and healthy. So right now, they're all working from home very successfully, very productively. So we do want to honor them, but we are coming to a place we're going to have to reopen. So actually, beginning tomorrow, our central administration office is going to be open again with health monitors, wellness monitors at every door, taking temperatures, greeting people, wearing masks. I've got my mask that I wear every time I step away from my desk in my private office. And so we're going to have all of those protocols in place in every single facility, even the bus barn, even the cafeterias, central admin, all of those distancing, spacing, all of that will be applied.
Charles, since the special ed needs will be met, is there a place on the website or a special meeting that could be set up at the campuses for the parents of special needs children?
So we have a special ed advisory committee. CPAC is what we refer to. It's a parent advisory. They're working with them. So there's two phases with special education. First of all special education identified family students, their parents will get a call directly from the school and the special education department to address what's called their ARD. That relates to developing their individual education plan. And so we are gonna have they'll get direct contact, and they may be also hosting some group meetings for SPED parents only to make sure that they're well informed of some of the more general topics. I'm not aware of the details on that right now, but we can follow up on that.
Yeah. Okay. We have about another 48 questions that we may not have the chance to get to, but I will find a way to get them forwarded to you and your staff so that perhaps they can be included in the frequently asked questions. But we do have a couple minutes left. So I know a number of folks are asking about providing a list of the daycares that you've talked to so that they might reach out to them themselves and other places. And Dr. Barrio had a nice link to some folks that were doing that. So we'll try to get that out to everyone.
Jim, if you don't mind, let me share what we're doing on the child care issue. And we are going to set up training. And what we're going to do is we're going to have a section on our website where all child cares that have been through the training with us, they will be posted there. Now, we are not going to be making connections or being a bridge between child care and the school system, but we just, as a service to parents, we want to be able to indicate which child care systems have partnered with us and have gone through the training. It'll just be a simple list of those organizations.
As we move forward, one of the questions is, right now we've been told that we're in the red zone in Fort Bend County. So how do we monitor that and know when it might change from to a lesser color? Where do we get that information from?
Well, one of the questions I get asked regularly is, and my staff gets regularly, is what medical information, what science are you using to make your decisions? And my answer is always, I'm not. I'm relying on people who do and who are experts in that area. So we use, the county sets the red, orange, yellow, blue, or green. That's their responsibility. That's Dr. Jackie Minter, that's her job. We follow what they publish, and that helps inform our decision making. But as I mentioned earlier, we also use survey data, focus groups with parents and staff, because that may not tell the whole story. And so we want to have multiple points of data as we make these decisions. And in the near future, we do want to be able to publish an actual matrix that tells each of all the data points and our response to each data point.
Okay, very good.
I know we have a limited amount of time. Can I say
Yes.
one more thing, if you don't mind?
Yes, of course.
I do want to acknowledge, because I know, Mr. Rice, you're on our board, our longest serving board member, and I think it's always important for our listeners to know that. And I know we have some other board members, including our board president, Jason Burdine, online with us too. And I just want this community to understand that as superintendent, I have the opportunity to lead the staff through this, but we can't do our job without the Board of Trustees. And our board, if you go back to what's typically slow summer with very few meetings, they've actually met about 6 or 7 times in May, June, and July to help make important decisions, take important actions to drive our response. So I want to always express appreciation to our board, because the fact that I've been here going on 8 years and the board has been very stable and we've been working closely as a team, and the leadership team, the executive leadership team is very stable and well developed, that is what is helping us lead through this successfully as an organization and as a leader in our community in the broader region. So I appreciate the board's strength and their passion and compassion and desire to lead effectively through this. The last thing I would add is that we have from the very beginning taken the attitude that this is an opportunity to transform our organization. We are not talking about going back to normal or going back to how things used to be in Fort Bend. You'll see our brand everywhere has been shifted for this year to Fort Bend ISD Reimagined, because we know we are learning lessons through this pandemic experience that we will not be able to ever go back. Our students are going to benefit and benefit and benefit from the online learning, the new tools, the resources. Our teachers are going to benefit and grow. And we've taken on the language. If you're familiar with Simon Sinek, he's an author and speaker. He has a book called The Infinite Game, where you play the finite game or you play the infinite game. And we don't play the finite game in Fort Bend where we're just following rules and getting by and trying to win a game. We're trying to win for life, for our system, for our community, and for our students. And I'm very excited that Simon Sinek is actually going to be with us with our entire leadership team in the district this Friday for our leadership launch to talk about just that and the mindset of what it means as we begin this year of transformation and transitioning to the infinite game. So it's a great, exciting time to be in Fort Bend ISD. And Jim, as always, I want to thank you and Carrie and Juliet and the entire chamber staff for having us today.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Dupre. We appreciate you taking time. I know that school is getting ready to start, even if it's online, very shortly, and the amount of attention to detail that must be paid to getting the teachers ready and the facilities ready. And so thank you again for being with us twice this summer. It's been an unusual time for everyone. Before we close, I will say we will get all the rest of the questions over to Dr. Dupre and Ms. Veronica Sofer, and they will endeavor to answer those questions for you. But we have a few upcoming events I'd like to share with you. Tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock, the Infrastructure Division of the Fort Bend Chamber of Commerce is hosting the Texas Department of Transportation. There's some updates with Eliza Paul, and that will be on a Zoom webinar. So contact the Chamber website if you're interested in attending that. And looking forward into October, all the way to October 14th, 2020, we're hoping to have the 13th annual State of the Schools at Safari Texas Ranch in person. We'll see where we are at that point in time. But in the meantime, we hope that you all stay safe and healthy. And one more thing is a final shout out and thank you to the sponsors and our attendees, Fast Signs of Rosenberg, Richmond, Mr. Sid Jaju, Houston Community College, Dr. Madeline Barrio, Jamal and Smith Construction, Michelle Vela, PBK Architects, Mr. Ian Powell, partner, Whitley Penn, Mr. Chris Bro, thank you very much, and Rice and Garner Consultants. Everyone have a wonderful day, and we'll look forward to seeing you again in the future very soon. Thank you.